in your mind, what does the future of the beef industry look like in regard to technology?
Me first. I think it's pretty positive. I think we're moving pretty fast into the technology age, which we're seeing sort of all the time. So I think we're going to, like Sarah said, you know, about working sort of on your business, not in your business. So we're going to have to be part of that and really increase that technology side. And I think there's a lot more research in technology. There's a lot more funding, whether some of it's government. We've just seen Morrison say that technology is going to be the way forward for reducing emissions. So I think technology would be part of it.
What about for you, Nick?
Oh, I think Sarah should have been up here for this panel. Yeah. I think she pretty much summed it up pretty good. Yeah, we've definitely got to refine what we've been doing, especially probably more so in the north now than ever. I think, you know, things like Cirrus and the black box is going to help refine what we do and how we do it and make ourselves more accountable for those decisions. You know, whether it's genetics or if it's pasture management or what it is, it all feeds into a bit more of a refined area. So yeah, we just got to keep fine-tuning the technology we use and how we use it, and probably changing our minds so we're adopting it. You know, historically producers aren't the best adopters because we naturally fall back to what we know, and that's probably a bit of old school thinking in most parts, in my part anyway. So just changing with the time and making sure we are looking at 10 years in front and 15 years in front, and probably not even just the technology available now, but open our minds up to what could be out there, because yeah, we know what technology does. By the time you realise it's current, it's already past you. So yeah, just keeping in front of the curve.
I think something we've heard a lot about from the speakers this afternoon is just how much data is coming through, and I guess we're only probably at the start of how we can use that to make decisions. Where do yourselves see that data and the power of that data coming through for your businesses?
Oh, I mean, data probably scares most. Well, for me, it scares me because, like, I don't know what to do with it or haven't done in the past. So, I mean, I think we myself personally, you know, we just start basic. You know, get average daily gains on different styles of cattle and where they are on the property. So I don't know. For me, it's just starting basic and building my confidence in the use of data, because yeah, historically, you know, we haven't used it much in the past. So probably just get an understanding of what we can collect and then working out what works for us in our situation. So yeah, we're a bit new to it, I suppose.
Yeah, and we would be the same. We started the Walkover Wire project, started with you back in, what was that year? I can't think, that's been a while now.
2014 maybe?
Something like that, yeah. So
those dinosaurs roaming the earth.
So and then we started collecting the data then for the Walkover Wire and looking at it, and the more we looked at it, the more things we wanted to know about it. I suppose so that sort of intrigues you and makes you to work out what you're doing with it. We do collect data when we, especially weaners, is our majority thing that we collect data for on the crash side, and we started collecting lots of stuff, and then we sort of back a bit off, and is it too much, is it too little? Don't know what to do with it until today. We heard Shannon talking about the black box.
I think platforms like Black Box and just learning about those areas which, you know, takes the hard work where it kind of puts it in a bit of a simple format, a dashboard format where you are collecting it, but you're not having to move it from one spot to another and then evaluate it. It's kind of, you know, pretty interactive and pretty simplised. So I think once you get things like that happening, and I think the adoption will come later once it's simplified and a bit more manageable, I suppose. You know, because we are time poor, so putting it into one spot like that kind of helps the time pour out, I suppose.
Definitely. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm hogging all the questions here, folks. Sarah.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment on that, and that is, you know, we almost have to have a change of behaviour as an industry, right? Because it's almost like we have to be embracing something that we've been trying to avoid. Everybody's wanted to be practical, haven't they? And I don't know how we're going to do that big shift. It really baffles me because people come into the industry because they want to, you know, get out and enjoy the sunshine and work with their hands, but then we've got this big barrage of data that's being demanded from us, if you like, by the consumer. So how are we going to make that change at management level particularly? It's as a person that knows on the ground and managing data is quite a versatile person, I reckon.
So I love that comment, Sarah. Just picking up on that for both of you then, how do you see that upskilling or that need to use a very different skill set to probably where you started for both of you in your careers in the cattle industry?
I think it's going to be a generational thing. I don't think we're going to see instantaneous, all of a sudden, from the cattle yard into, overnight. I think generationally we'll see a swing, and I mean, it's been happening whether we like it or not. There wasn't computers when I was at school, and all of a sudden, you go to school, you have to have a computer. So I think it's the mindset that's coming up through the generations, and I mean, the people in between are probably prior to computers and where they are now with them. I think it'll happen over time. It's just, I don't think we can expect change overnight, but it's making sure we are open-minded enough and understanding that we need to look outside the box, I suppose.
And seeing the big benefits from it, I suppose. None of us probably love it, hate office work, but it's something we've got to do. And if we're seeing the benefits from it, then that will sort of flow on us, encourage us to do it a bit more, and maybe make us not hate it so much.
Ben?
Mine's more of an answer to your first question about where the hell do you see all this going and stuff. And I look at it and I think to myself, in the last 2 years with the COVID pandemic that we've had, agriculture needs to be pushed back into schools, because kids in the agricultural sector in schools has been dropped off because it's farmers have always been classed as a second-rate sort of citizen. Kids want to go out and be the high-class, high-flyer in the corporate world, but nowadays, to me, the amount of technology, we're leaders in innovation and technology, but that's not portrayed back in schools. And to me, we need the farming industry, or somebody needs to be pushing the ag sectors back into schools, high schools, primary schools. It's more beneficial to you, or I would think so, than a drama class.
I'll remind you to catch up with you, Tree, to get an LA beef, red meat into schools program that they've got going. It's pretty big, but anyway, I'll side that. Has it, Tracy?
So do you think industry is getting to the stage now where they see enough value in data that's out there to be able to have an industry or a business that looks out for them to pay somebody to interrogate their data, to analyse it, to produce a result? Is there enough value in the way we're able to interrogate data now for you to bring it into your business to inform the decisions you're making? Like, everybody's time for you come home at the end of the day, last thing you want to be doing is sitting in front of a computer interrogating data. Is it got to the stage now where there's enough value in the information that you can pay people to help you do it?
Yeah, I think we're getting there. It's one of those two things too, and probably in a region or we're in a family operation, so you sort of try and do as many jobs yourself as you can, but you have to get to the point and you have to let it go and get other people to do it, and especially if you're seeing what the cost value is of getting someone else to do it that knows how to do it, and saving you time. To outsource that for someone that knows what they're doing is a big benefit. So I think we're progressing there. People are starting to look at different things, whether it's nutrition or whether it's land mapping or whatever. So they're starting to outsource a few of those jobs that you usually probably do yourself and take in, I think.
I think when the ECI's over $1,000, I think if there's any time to invest in technology and refine those decision-making skills and come analysing data, I think it's probably, everything's around profitability, I suppose, isn't it? I suppose when cattle are worth as much as they are at the moment, the smaller decision can add up to big financial gains at the end of the day. So, if it's not now, I don't know when it will be, but it's got to be edging close in my mind.
Please.
Further to Tracy's question, where do you see your roles as managers and owners of the business? Do you see it more moving into analysing the data and just being basically managers in an office, or still staying down a physical path as well?
I think a lot of us, for me particularly, I've come in here into this, into the role because it was the physical attraction around it, I suppose. but moving forward, it's definitely going to be a balance between the two, and it is about making those decisions, those micro or macro decisions that can have really large impacts on the bottom line. So, as much as you'd like to spend as much in the time in the field, you definitely got to refine those skills of analysing data and making these decisions that are in the office based, I suppose. I don't know what blend it will be. I suppose every operation is different, but definitely a leaning towards more so an analytic kind of stage.
Yeah, I'm the same. You know, I'd probably rather not be in the office. I would rather not be in the office, not probably. But I suppose if there is someone, whether it's myself or someone else or outsourcing, that can do that work, and I suppose tell me what their findings are, and we can then make some sort of management decisions around what they're finding and work that way too. It's going to be up to an individual sort of case by case, but you know, it is something you're going to really have to look at. We're getting pushed that way, so to make every, and we are got great prices at the moment, but you have to make hay while the sun shines too. You never know what's around the corner. Can't see it coming back too much.
I think there's potential because, at the end of the day, there's normally people who can analyse data and do all that, and then there's people who can chase cows and judge and have terrific judgment, and what's happening in the paddock is just making sure those two people are coming together and understand each other. I think that's where probably the biggest divide is in my mind at the moment. It's just you got these real technical people and then you got these real practical people, and just making sure we're blending those two, and then it's around trust with those people. If you are outsourcing, you've got to have trust that they understand the data, but also what's happening on the day-to-day operation side of things too. So I think there's probably plenty of potential for it to grow, but just making sure that producers are finding someone who can trust and understand, I suppose.
Anne?
Yeah, I was going to go along the same lines as Tracy. Today's been a great day to inform us of what's available, but often at home you don't know what's available. So we need these sessions, but we also need people, professional people like Dione, Phil Holmes, and to help us get our data into an area that we can actually use. So, you've got people that work it all out, but then we need it into some sort of format. We can't do that. We just don't have the time or the skills. So you sort of see the industry taking on more of that sort of, paying people like Dione to come and help us learn how to use SIBO labs.
Definitely.
And how to integrate it into, that black box today, which is amazing.
MLA representatives, and we've all paid plenty of grass-fed levies. Maybe we should be asking them.
And part of it too is, we might outsource and pay people to do things too, and they come back to us and say, you need to do this and this and that, and you think, yeah, but I don't really want to. And you think, well, is that sort of, you're fighting yourself. Sometimes you're defeating the purpose of hiring someone or paying the money to do it, and you think, oh, but I like to do it that way, I've done it that way for a long time, and that might make more work, but for maybe for a small amount of work it might be a bigger benefit.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a fight in yourself.
Sort of think about integrating it into your business rather than sort of like just outsourcing.
Yeah, but to bring it back into as well. But that outsourcing is I think part of it will have to be sort of outsourcing because we don't have the time. People are specialised in those fields, so a big benefit.
I'll go to Lindy and then yourself, Tracy.
I think just a couple of comments. There's not very many of us now who would not sit in front of NAFI, Wiley Wind and Weather Zone to think about how we're going to deal with the fire. So we use those things, those pieces of technology, and I'll never forget Pete saying to me one day, we've got all this laid out on the table, must have been 2012, big fire, everything laid out, making a decision about where we're going to take men and equipment and what we're going to do. And Pete said, it used to be we just went out and sniffed the wind. We've picked it up in those ways. I think one of the challenges when MLA are talking about uptake is sometimes it's as simple as what's the first step? What is the thing that I need to start with? The graphs are all great, but lots of us are a long way from there. and how we start is the challenge, because you don't want to get to a situation where you're being driven by the needs of the data system. You actually want it to work for you. So what is it that we can start with that allows us to build without feeling completely overwhelmed about what it is we should be doing? And I think that's, certainly for us, in relation to the herd management, that's one of the key principles for us that we're still grappling with. What is it that we start with? Because I can't do it all in one go.
Excellent, I'm signing you up to breeding edge work.
So we're a bit like that too. We want to know, like we've been collecting data, but we don't really know what we're doing it for. So we don't really know what our end aim is yet while we're collecting it, but we're hopefully we had to start somewhere. And I suppose that's the thing. And there is lots of technology too. We're just thinking about cattle, or I was just thinking about cattle, but yeah, all that technology that you're talking about too, for napping and all the rest is awesome too, that collection.
Do you have anything to add to that?
No.
I'll go back to Tracy.
I was just thinking, do you think high coal prices is going to drive innovation because industry can afford it? Or is it going to hinder innovation because people are making money they don't need to adopt it?
I'd like to hope it.
Do you think that high cattle prices are going to drive innovation because industry can afford it, they can afford to take the risk and start adopting some of these new ideas that they might have been reluctant to do? Or do you think it's going to hinder innovation because people are making money without it? So why bother?
Historically, it's always been needed to do it, doesn't it?
If you want to get the edge in your margins, you've got to go further. What's going to happen? What's going to say? I know you're not on the panel, so
I'll pass to the producers first. I'll come in last.
I would have thought that, and you always see, the graphs that come out of MLA and everyone else, that the early adopters, or not so much early adopters, but people that are doing things are always going to be the higher percentile. And I think you'll probably still keep on seeing that those people that want to keep on driving themselves to make those margins, tighter and things like that, they'll just keep on pushing. Whereas other ones, will say, oh, well, I can get a good price and why bother? I don't have to do much and I'm still up there. So I think possibly they'll still be the same.
I'd like to think it'd increase adoption, but yeah, I suppose it's a good point too. I suppose while you're making money, why change it? So, but yeah, I mean, for me, I think if you're going to try something new, you may as well try it with a bit of money in the bank, I suppose, instead of, and it probably is when tough times come, people normally revert to what they've done in the past, so I'd like to see more adoption, but that's just, whether it happens or not, that's just my opinion. Yeah.
And then Tracy, my answer. Oh, Sarah, please.
Can you ask the room to have a show of hands first?
So...
What a view about it. Why, government view, yes. No, I just think a lot of really rapid innovation takes place when people are under pressure, or governments or communities or whatever, in crisis, or wartime, or so sometimes that really drives rapid innovation. There's always a risk that things are good coast.
So Sarah, how should I frame your question to the
Well,
group?
can you ask the question again and ask people to vote? I mean, do you think it's going to invigorate innovation, or do you think it's going to make people just... was that the question?
Yeah, they're going to stifle.
Yeah, stifle or invigorate innovation. So
those who think that high cattle practices is going to further drive adoption of technology, pop your hands up.
Well, the opposition. I think the question might be who would adopt more technology personally.
Because I feel like the people in this room are willing to adopt, to look at
Already
making further business. So the people that have made, I think we'll probably see a bit of both. The people who are making money, or they'll sit back, but then your top achievers will go, actually, let's use this chance to go further.
yeah, that's true, but it's not. We're not asking what you would do. We're asking what we think the industry will do. I mean, I think it's a fair point what you say. But so we've got the innovate, invigorate, and the other side is stifle. Right? So who thinks it's going to stop?
I I mean, the question is future-proofing your business.
Yeah.
So it's now the time to be innovative, to future-proof your business, or tread water, bank a bit of bark, and then see what happens.
And this is the best time to do it, isn't it? When it is good, you know, to set yourself up for the next down. You know, this is the time that you can do it.
No, that's right. I'm going to hurry up. So we can continue this discussion over afternoon tea.
Or email. Don't
See
that.
Teams link. What was my answer? Well, I would, Lewis won't back me up on this one, but I would argue that it comes down to the value proposition. That if you can pitch the product to address the problem and demonstrate why producers should be using it, then people are going to take it up. Good use or bad use, if the value is there, it should be a no-brainer. And there will always be a certain portion of the industry who will be the risk takers and take it on board, and they will pick it up really quickly, and the others will come with that. I mean, the perfect example for me is the remote water point monitoring.
So, the same thing.
That started Pigeonhole in 2002. We've gone through 2 or 3 versions of different companies that have delivered in this region, but from what I can see, there are stations that are picking it up now. We've known about it for over 10 years, and people are, readily adopting it because they've got the right product for them. But I think you have to accept that it does take time, but we also need our early adopters because they help iron out all the kinks to make it work for everyone else. Sorry, that's a really answer. Let's move to afternoon tea before we get into more.
Cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we just thank Sally? She's spent a huge amount of time in the territory, so she knows, I know already most of you, but you've done a fabulous job, and that's why we did ask you to facilitate this session. So, thank you for bringing all, not only your territory insights, but all the MLA ones as well. And you almost kept us on time, but that wasn't